Black entrepreneurs face significant challenges when starting and growing businesses. Many have a hard time accessing the resources they need due to what they say is discrimination and sometimes bias. However, some successful business Black entrepreneurs have found ways to overcome these obstacles. The Black Startup Series is a new documentary series about successful Black-owned business founders in America. It is produced by Ethiopian American filmmaker Nate Araya, who is currently screening the series to audiences in colleges around the country. He joined me to talk about the series and the importance of financial literacy in Black communities. Let's take a look.
Well, Jackson, I'm ready to showcase a new film and financial literacy tour called the Black Startup Series. And it's a 3-part documentary series that spotlights startup stories of successful Black-owned business founders. And the goal with this project is to be able to really shed some clarity around entrepreneurship and financial education within our global Black community.
Especially among the Black community.
Absolutely.
How did your work as an entrepreneur inform this project you're working on right now?
Yeah, so as a filmmaker and entrepreneur, I've been blessed to have the opportunity to travel the world. So I've been to places like Ethiopia, Senegal, all over the Middle East, and I've seen that there is a surplus of talent within our global Black community, but also a scarce of access to opportunity. So as we all know, access is the cornerstone of power, and I've noticed that talent is universal, but the access to opportunity is not. So now with this documentary, we're providing access to diverse number of stories of representation that we all can see ourselves in.
I've had you on the show a couple of times, starting way back in 2019. Right. And then 2020, we caught up again, but this time we were in lockdown at the beginning of the pandemic.
Right.
You had a new venture going on. How was it starting a business during the pandemic?
It was interesting because essentially I was supposed to be a passive investor for a brick and mortar coffee business, but we changed our brick and mortar to a click and order business model where we turned Ground Zero into a supplying company.
Your company was called Ground Zero.
Ground Zero
Yes.
Coffee, East African coffee company focused on community impact through social impact. And that's what we did. We just started delivering coffee, quality coffee at people's convenience to their doorsteps. And it transitioned into being a big supply company where we supply Walmart now. We're in the Walmart marketplace to different hotels, coffee shops, and now it's able to fund and fuel a lot of my community-based initiatives.
In 2019, when we first connected, you had a documentary you were working on. Why don't you remind our listeners what that was about?
Yeah, we go way back, Jackson. When I first started in 2019 with that new documentary, it was focused on mental health within our global Black community and ways that we can be able to destigmatize mental health and be a little more comfortable talking about the silent issues that often go on inside all of us. So I went through a lot of opportunities where I was touring, sharing the film, increasing conversation awareness around mental health, and it led me now to a new project where we're now focused on entrepreneurship within our global Black community.
Right, and we'll get to that, but then you started your coffee business. We went through the pandemic. It's almost 2 years and a half now. How are things looking for you?
It's amazing. The coffee business now funds and fuels the community-based initiatives, and one of them is happening right now.
Right. How did your work as an entrepreneur inform this project you're working on right now?
Yeah, so as a filmmaker and entrepreneur, I've been blessed to have the opportunity to travel the world. So I've been to places like Ethiopia, Senegal, all over the Middle East, and I've seen that there is a surplus of talent within our global Black community, but also a scarce of access to opportunity. So as we all know, access is the cornerstone of power, and I've noticed that talent is universal, but the access to opportunity is not. So now with this documentary, we're providing access to diverse number of stories of representation that we all can see ourselves in.
So the documentary series, 3 parts, right? It tells the stories of Black entrepreneurs, is that correct?
Yes.
What are some of the things that you want people to learn from? What is the message, the overarching message in this series?
Yeah, I want to help aspiring entrepreneurs become successful business owners. That's one aspect. And then I also want to be able to shed light and awareness about some amazing Black-owned businesses and connect them with investors. Something interesting that I came across during my studies is that $83 trillion is invested in venture capital and private equity, but only less than 1.3% is invested in women and people of color. total.
Less than
1.3%
Wow.
is invested in
That's
women
a
and
very
people of color.
small figure.
Right.
So how do we increase that?
That's what we're here to talk about, and and those are the major questions I'm wrestling with. So the goal is, with this Film and Financial Literacy Tour, to focus on ways that we can make opportunities and capital more accessible within our global Black community and make entrepreneurship more attainable. So these are the type of conversations that's listed in the documentary that we want to spark within our community.
So what is the gap? Why is there less money going towards Black entrepreneurs? Is it because they don't know how to access these resources? Is it because the owners of these resources are not willing to invest in these Black businesses?
You know, it's important that we focus on Black-owned business, not as charity, but as lucrative business opportunities for investors to really invest and grow significant profit. So I think there's an educational, there's a bit of educational gap within Black-owned businesses, because I don't think we have the access to education resources as we need to. We're good at starting business because I think we're very entrepreneurial at spirit, but scaling has its own different challenges, right? And scaling requires a significant amount of knowledge base and resources in order to kind of improve the business and bring awareness to investors, for them to really identify opportunities that really can profit.
And in this series, you feature some entrepreneurs, Black entrepreneurs. What did they tell you is the thing that made them get ahead of the game?
Black persistence, at its core. I met so many people within this documentary, and they were telling me their story of how persistent they were and consistent they were in being able to attain great business success. So these individuals were people that were very curious, that were relentlessly resourceful, and they really were able to really overcome so many challenges to get to where they are. And they have been on Vogue, they've been in New York Times, these people were in the Met Gala, doing some incredible things. So I'm really inspired and excited for the world to see it.
Did you see yourself in some of their stories?
I did. Even my story with Ground Zero Coffee, and being able to really relate to their story of being persistent, especially when you hear no's all the time. And I tell people all the time that, one yes can change the trajectory of your life. But the question is, how many no's are you willing to go through to get to that one yes that will change your life? And these people are people that are relentless to get to that one yes.
They've gotten so many no's, but that one yes has been the thing that has actually given them access to...
Absolutely. And most importantly, they said yes to themselves. They were able to see the greatness in themselves before they were able to amount to great things.
I like
and
that.
That's what I want the film, that's what I want a lot of people to see within the film, that these are amazing people and you can see yourself in them, but it's important that we say yes to ourselves, our own ideas, our own entrepreneurship business concepts, and really step out and make it happen.
Aside from access to resources, what would you say is the thing or some of the factors that impede Black entrepreneurship?
One of them, I think, is just access to education, because I think it's important for us within the ideation stage of business development to not just think about just starting a business to start a business, but really think about incrementally scaling, or eventually looking at ways for the business could be acquired or going IPO. A lot of these have gatekeepers, and it's important that we understand that how we can get access to the information early within the ideation stage of business development, so that we can be a little more strategic and sustainable as a business and community.
And who are you targeting with it? Is it the people is it people in the Black community? Is it the people who are the resource holders?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a little bit of both, right? Because it takes a partnership, right? I heard that, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together, right? Yes. So I think it requires investors, a community of investors, startup founders, and different people, professionals, to really get together and really look at ways to really elevate business and community.
Tell us some of these people, some of the stories of the people that you feature in these stories.
Well, the first one is Paola Mate. She's a Haitian American entrepreneur that came from Haiti to America, and she was based in New Jersey, then moved to New York. She was managing many different restaurants and decided she wanted to launch her own luxury head wrap brand. And from there, now she's been able to transition to Austin. She has a storefront, beautiful store, and she does so many different things. She does workshops for young Black women, like head wrap workshops, and she's doing some exciting things. Another one is Kobla Tate, CEO and co-founder of Break the Box, which is a home ownership empowerment program helping Black professionals get into home ownership. And then the last person is JP, and JP has his own company called JP's Pancake Company. He launched the first gourmet pancake food truck in Austin, Texas. Wow. So these are stellar, successful entrepreneurs in 3 different industries that are dominating the game right now.
What are some of the tips that you can give, financial literacy tips, so financial tips to people who have aspirations to be entrepreneurs?
I think one of the first things that I've learned that's helped me within my financial literacy journey was to see my life as a business and to understand that you are the CEO of your life. And the way you manage your life is the way you'll manage your business. So if you understand how to really manage and budget, and I think budget has its own negative connotation within our community because we think it's full of restrictions and self-deprivation, but it's not about self-deprivation. It's about self-awareness. So because at the end of the day, you put your money where your values are. Right? And where your values are is where you're going to go in life. So I think having a budget and looking at where you get your income, where you get your expenses, where you spend your money on, really is very telling of kind of like the relation that you have with finances. So I think creating a budget, having a good mindset about a budget, it doesn't have to be restrictive, it can actually be empowering. Second thing I would say, financial discipline. What good is financial literacy if you don't have financial discipline, right? So financial discipline is important, right? We need to really be disciplined, and if you need
You can't just keep spending and spending.
You can't keep spending, right? And with that, garner some accountability, Get with people that are around the same level, or a bit ahead of you, so that you can be able to get a network. And we all know that, your network is your net worth. So I think accountability, financial discipline, and creating a budget, understanding that you need to manage your life first before you start managing business, I think that's a huge tip.
What is the first step to being an entrepreneur? Is it having an idea? Is it acquiring the resources to start the business? Is it a self-belief? Where does one gain that confidence to say, let me do this, I want to do this?
Yeah, I've heard long ago, and I was actually reading this in a book, to start a business, it takes more courage than knowledge. To scale a business takes more knowledge than courage. So I think for entrepreneurs, it starts with our creativity. It starts with our entrepreneurial spirit. It starts with us being able to see a need, a void, and being willing to step in within that gap to really super serve our audience. So I think that's the huge step. Having that courage and understanding that you're going to fail, but your altitude of success is actually dependent on your relationship with failure. So if you have a healthy relationship with failure and you can understand that it's not about being perfect, it's just about being willing.
Failing is okay.
Failing is okay.